Do you get an Oscar these days just for being British?
Answer me this, answer me this.
Would 3 weeks with Perez Hilton make anyone skittish?
Answer me this, Helen and Ollie, answer me this.
Which came first, the chicken, the egg, or this endless fucking pile of emails about chickens and eggs? Seriously, so many of you have got in touch about this.
I don't remember a time before those emails, so I think the chicken and the egg must have both landed simultaneously at the beginning of time, and then email shortly after.
So, in Answer Me This 305, you may recall, were discussing the relatively few dishes in the world that contain both chicken and eggs.
In substantial proportions, so not chicken and mayonnaise.
Correct.
Chicken and solid egg.
Whole eggs rather than an egg-based lubricant such as a mayonnaise.
Not a soup with a chicken stock that also has egg. Proper chicken and egg dishes.
Edmund, and about 5 million other people, have been in touch to say, your discussion on chicken and eggs reminded me of another dish for your list, one of the delights of my time spent as an exchange student in Japan, the discovery in a Tokyo restaurant of a dish called oyakudon, which is a delicious combination of chicken and egg on rice in a bowl. Oya is Japanese for parent, ko for child, and don for bowl, so this dish translates as parent and child bowl.
Not appetising.
That's kind of disgusting.
Not appetising at all.
Todd says, did you know that the Paul Simon song Mother and Child Reunion was inspired by a Chinese chicken and egg meal?
I didn't. And from the song, that's not obvious to me.
Next thing you'll be telling us that red wine was inspired by some sort of beverage.
Paul from Bristol has also listened to episode 305, and he says, I object to your assessment of size 7 men's feet being tiny.
How could you possibly object to that? And I would say that is an objective view.
Here is why. I am a 37-year-old man, and I have size 5 feet. I dream of having size 7 feet, where my only problem would be slightly large socks. I have to buy children's shoes. The only upside of which is that they're VAT exempt, so are slightly cheaper, and sometimes have dinosaurs on.
Wow, Paul, you are a tiny little baby man.
Well, he might be a huge man with small... Not small, with unusual sized feet, since he's taken offence to us typifying those feet as being below average size.
I think, Paul, you're so short that a normal man's sock is like a sleeping bag for you.
He might look like a beautiful ballet dancer when he walks.
That's right, he might. He might. See, Paul, it's not all bad, is it? And also, you could probably get a job as a foot model for women's shoes.
Or for children. Because
yes.
actually there are licensing laws, aren't there?
Yes, you can work full hours as a child's shoe model.
I don't believe there are any rules on the exploitation of men with tiny children's feet.
No, they don't have to ask your parents for permission because you're 37. Silver linings all over the place. No VAT, child foot modelling career. Well, Paul, the podiatrically petite Paul, has a question. He says, Ollie, answer me this.
Yeah, do it in a high voice to represent, obviously, how small he is.
I'll do it with the tiny clomping of little shoes. He says, Ollie, answer me this.
Yeah.
How can I stop people staring at me like I'm some kind of nonce for frequenting children's shoe shops? Could you mail order the shoes? Would that be better? Or going to children's shoe shops very late in the day after most children have gone home?
That's a good point, actually, because I imagine that the real traffic in a children's shoe shop happens for kids that aren't yet at school round kind of 11s, and then, you know, maybe after school 4 to 5 p.m.
Yeah, and don't go in school holiday time.
Yeah.
Go on a Monday morning during
Monday
term.
morning, 10 a.m.
Yeah.
You'll be the only one in there. You'll have the whole shoe shop to yourself. You'll be like Michael Jackson
Spree
in a toy
time.
shop.
Yes. Do a montage of yourself trying on shoes and moonwalking in them.
Now, something else that has happened since our last episode, Helen, is that your podcast, the one you were crowdfunding for a few months back, has
Thanks,
actually
everyone.
started.
Yes, it has launched. The Allusionist.
ALLUSIONIST.
Yes.
It's no Mickey Mouse Club, but I can spell it out.
That was very impressive.
Thanks.
I'm bad at spelling things out loud, so obviously good that I'm doing this word podcast. Yes, I've launched that now, so thanks everybody who chipped in for funding it and Radiotopia's future. And there's a double bill of episodes, and one of them is about puns and stars brother of the show, Andy Zaltzman, familiar to you from the Bugle podcast. And because Andy didn't get his punning from nowhere, it also features Father Zaltzman, who many of you enjoyed in Answer Me This 200. Very dry sense of humour.
The return of Zach Zaltzman to a Zaltzman family podcast.
Return of the Zach. Once again.
Yes, it is.
And where can people find this online?
theallusionist.org, as well as iTunes and stuff. And also the other episode is about bras. So puns and bras, because I know what you like. All your interests are covered. Go and listen to it.
Very British, isn't it, for a show that's funded by a partly American company?
They do wear bras in America.
I know, but it's just...
They do puns as well.
I like the fact that you've also introduced the word fortnightly into the vocabulary of Roman Mars.
He needs it, because it's very hard to express the concept of a 2-week expanse of time without the word fortnight, because bi-week can also mean twice a week.
Yeah. And
See?
you know what
Rubbish.
it's like these days? Someone would be like, oh, bi-week. Well, when's trans week? You know, it's just easier to say fortnightly.
Bi-week doesn't even exist. Just decide on a week.
Everyone's a little bit bi-weekly.
Hi, this is Mark. Hello, and Ollie, and Martin the Sandman. Can you please answer me this? I'm up for a meeting in Coventry and just been walking through the city centre where there's a precinct and there's a sign on it that says no skateboarding or similar activities. Well, what is a similar activity to skateboarding? I can't think of any. Can you?
I assumed that other activities would be similar kind of stunt activities on wheels, like doing BMX stunts or rollerblading or other shoes with wheels on.
Yeah, not wheelchairs, though. Those are okay.
Zimmer frames, maybe?
They're fine. Shopping trolleys are borderline, aren't they? Shopping trolleys
yeah.
fine if being used by a person who's clearly intending to carry shopping. Bad
Yeah.
if being used by a teenager having fun.
Kiddie scooters.
It's basically young people having fun on wheels, isn't
No
it?
space hoppers either.
Space officer in the list. And I suppose anything related to skateboarding, so, you know, saying dude, wearing Vans.
Big oversized clothes.
Okay, I've got a serious question. What about parkour
Well,
or free running?
I think that is a similar activity.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's not got wheels. You're not going to run anyone over doing parkour.
Are they legally covered, though, if you smash your head open on their skating ramp by saying, well, look, no skateboarding or other similar activities
yeah,
here?
exactly.
Yeah, I think they probably are.
Any activities that will get your head smashed open.
Yeah.
That's what the subtext is.
Yeah.
Parkour is essentially the same as that game where you're not allowed to touch the floor. Like the floor's made of lava and you've got to run around your living room just on the
Is
sofa
that
and
what
the
it is?
armchairs and
I
stuff.
always thought it was more like wink murder.
Really?
No, not really. Extreme wink murder. We go jumping from building to building. That's
With
what
your
they're
eyes
actually
shut.
doing, yeah. They're
extreme
just winking really hard. If you look carefully, no one looks at their face. Why?
Extreme Wink Murder is the show that is missing from Challenge TV. That would be great.
In a strange sort of parallel universe, I'd be the kind of person who did skate and do parkour. You know, if I was athletically able, it does appeal to me. The subculture element of it kind of does. Like, it's being outside, but it's also being a bit sardonic and a bit sideways about everyone else.
I'd love to know the freedom of whizzing along on skates.
Yeah.
The fact is, I cannot stand up on wobbly things like skates. When I was 9 or 10, my friends and I used to frequent the roller disco in the leisure centre just outside Tunbridge Wells. Because what's better than whizzing around on wheels to rock set? Nothing.
Nothing, literally nothing.
Now, I cannot pretend to have ever been a skater that could let go of the wall. But at home, my brothers used to tease me because sometimes I'd put on my roller skates and just sit in an armchair. And I think it was because I thought if I wore them long enough, it would become intuitive to skate
Well,
rather than
people
something I was
say-
spectacularly ill-qualified to do.
People say, don't they, you know, sitting down is the new smoking is a phrase that I've been seeing a lot on the internet over the past
Finally,
few
I'm
weeks.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm like someone in a film noir because I sit down a
No,
lot.
not in that way. In the sense that being sedentary is bad for your health.
Oh, goodbye, everybody.
And that actually sitting down too much is the sort of silent killer. There's some self-help author in the US has been saying this week.
Bit difficult though, given most jobs.
Well, indeed. So what the answer to this, you know, according to various articles that I've seen trending on Twitter is, you know, for example, squatting whilst brushing your teeth. You know?
I don't sit down whilst I'm brushing my teeth. That's one of the times when I'm not sitting down.
Yeah, no. Doing squats. Like up, down, up, down, up, down.
Sometimes I do kind of pliés whilst brushing my teeth, but that's because I need to strengthen my calf tendons because I have a foot condition.
There you go. Well, that's an example, you see.
Yeah, but
or
it's
standing up whilst you're on one of those new standing desks.
Oh, I
That seems like a really horrible idea, standing
You can get
desks.
treadmill desks as well.
Oh,
Apparently
God.
Graham Linehan has one.
It's like if
Yeah.
working in an office isn't miserable enough,
I
how
know.
many more ways can they
combine it
pile
with
on?
exercise.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I suppose that's the point, isn't it? If you're doing a relatively boring, bureaucratic
Yes.
bit of work, why
Or-
not just combine it with exercise, which is boring and you'd rather have more free time to yourself in the evening than go to the gym?
Or
that's
you're browsing the internet and doing some enjoying internet fucking around age, but you're sitting on your ass when you could be doing some slow walking. And thus exercising and making it a valuable activity rather than a time-wasting one.
I wonder if teenagers sort of vigorously wanking repetitively counts as physical exercise.
Well, one of their arms it is.
Well, if you think about it, it is better than just sitting there, isn't it?
You can't really do that at a standing desk, though.
You could do it at work.
I don't... I'm doing it right now.
I'm exercising. What are you going to do about it? Well, here is a question from Johnny at University in Aberdeen. He says, I'm up at an ungodly hour, 3:09 in the morning.
What are you talking about? That's primetime radio.
Yeah, I'm up listening to Ollie Mann on LBC.
If he had, he'd have heard my conversation last night, which is, do you have an unconventional pet? Which I think is one of my favourite questions that I've ever done on LBC.
Well, he says, I'm not trying to live a day in the life of Ollie Mann. It is, in fact, because I am deeply concerned for one of Britain's favourite celebrity chefs. And that's keeping him awake. Wow. So, Ollie, answer me this. What the fuck happened to Ainsley Harriott? His sinister yet jolly face used to be on our screens daily in years gone by, but now it would appear Ainsley's glory days are over. Do you have news on the big man?
You know, actually, to me, he's very much a constant presence because...
he's always creeping up on you.
No, he's a couscous magnate, isn't he?
Wow.
He's pretty much the leading brand in partially made microwavable couscous.
I'm sure I've seen him advertising other similar products,
yeah, there's a
partially
whole
made
range.
things.
Yeah, quinoa.
He's the king of partially cooking things.
Yeah, he's the British Uncle Ben. That's not racist. He just is. Like, his face comes out the top of packets that are things that you put in the microwave for a minute.
He's also probably on TV programmes that we don't watch. It's just that Ready Steady Cook isn't on anymore every day, giving us a daily dose of Ainsley.
He was on this morning, this week. So career far from over, I think you'll find.
Was he cooking or doing something else?
He was making Ainsley Harriott sticky chicken thighs, hot slaw and sweet potato wedges.
Okay.
Sounds like a nice...
Sounds like he's still at the top of his game. I suppose the thing is he's just not a presenter anymore, is he? And it's that awful thing, you know, people think if you're not the presenter anymore, it's like you don't have a career. You know, he's got his couscous empire.
Yeah.
He still does his books. He had a book out in 2011. I know it's not that recent, more recent than ours.
But
you know,
people still buy them.
Yeah.
But Fern Britton, I think, is the same. If you're talking about former presenters of Ready Steady Cook, and then she was on TV every day on This Morning.
And of course we are talking about that very regularly, and we have that conversation, don't we, almost constantly. Former presenters of Ready Steady. My mastermind specialist subject, former presenters of Ready Steady Cook.
What has Fern Britton got to do? But she's not on TV every day anymore. You don't see her that often at all.
No, but she's interviewing people in cuddly jumpers about their Christianity, and she's happy with that.
Is she? Because she's very ambitious, as we know, because we listen to her autobiography. Do you think the Ainsley shtick has been somewhat damaged by the fact that what he does is fairly achievable, and you've already got Jamie Oliver covering that?
I think what happened, to be honest, is that when Jamie and Nigella came along, they weren't really selling food anymore. I know Ainsley was selling food plus personality, but they were selling food plus personality plus sex,
tits.
weren't they? Yeah, and sex wins, doesn't it? That's the thing. So now you really can't get a TV show as a celebrity chef unless you're selling sex as well as everything. Or I'm on a mission, you know. I'm going to change the way, whatever, you know, prisoners eat.
I haven't closely followed his career, but from the little exposure I've had to him, I feel like his larger-than-life persona has a certain kind of like energetic desperation that suggests he's not actually that comfortable in front of the spotlight, and it's actually maybe just a short period of exposure that he needed to kickstart his brand.
Short period, about 20 years or so.
Well,
yeah, maybe. Well, that's why. Maybe you can help back this up with more detail.
He's a very experienced broadcaster, but Martin's right. His on-air personality is slightly edgy, and that is what is being hinted at in this question from Johnny as well, isn't it? That it's not. I wouldn't say he's sinister, but I would say you got the impression. And I'm sorry to bring Anthony Worrell Thompson into it again because I know he's had his problems. But again, the two of them, Worrell Thompson and Harriott, I think both of them slightly edgy. And now celebrity chefs have to look, as I say, completely relaxed, completely in their own skin, and like they want to sleep with you right then.
Brian Turner wouldn't get on telly now, would he?
No, that's the thing.
But has Ainsley Harriott ever done I'm a Celebrity or anything like that?
No, I don't think he has.
Because he'd be good on that, or Celebrity Big Brother.
He must have been asked, mustn't he?
Have been.
He's the kind of person who'd turn up for a task on Big Brother. You know, the celebrities have to play won't cook, can't cook.
Yeah.
And he'd turn up and do a parody of himself.
Yeah.
In fact, he's done a bit of that. Like, if you look at his recent CV, he was in the last ever episode of My Family, apparently.
Right.
I never watched My Family, but I imagine that he was doing a parody of a celebrity chef in that. So he's up for a bit of that. I wonder if he's stable enough to do 3 weeks in a celebrity reality show, or just too sensible.
They want people who are going to break, and a lifetime of psychological upset is going to come pouring out.
But we're all assuming he wants the attention. I repeat, He is a couscous magnate.
It's like
he is the Lloyd
Grossman.
Grossman of couscous.
Lloyd Grossman,
he doesn't need it.
He was on TV
Big
a lot.
pile of money.
And he doesn't even go on MasterChef that he had a hand in the format of.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, fuck it, I've got my jars of sauce.
Yeah, exactly. I tried some of Barry Norman's pickled onions the other day.
Yes, they're quite strong, aren't they?
So strong. And I, because they're sort of bewildered by the celebrity factor, there's nothing on the jar to indicate
the aggression within.
The aggression. If you were marketing them as just as a normal pickled onion by someone who wasn't famous, you would call them Barry's extra hot fuck me pickled onions.
Well, what aspect about them is strong?
Sharp.
They're very acidic.
Very sharp.
Because a few years ago, Ollie, you and I had a bet on with our friend Leon. He was saying that his branch of Waitrose or something had... I can't remember how many types of pickled onion he said.
Claimed
but maybe
something
20.
like 20, yeah.
And we said, bet it's got 4.
Yeah.
And we were right. So he bought us a jar of Barry's pickled onions, but that jar is still in my fridge because we just can't get through them.
Right.
It's like embalming fluid with onions in it.
I've got a question. Then email your question to answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com.
So, retrospectors, what historical events are we ticking off on this week's run of Today in History?
On Monday, the anniversary of the day Ozzy Osbourne and a bat came face to face on stage.
On Tuesday, we go back to the future with a potted history of the DeLorean.
On Wednesday, why is the Pope guarded by those guys in floofy hats?
On Thursday, how the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ended up in Cleveland.
And on Friday, was Henry VIII really an asshole, or was it just the result of a jousting accident?
We discuss this and more on Today in History with the Retrospectors. 10 minutes each weekday, wherever you get your podcasts. A question of marriage now from someone who calls themselves Matrimony Troubles in Kent. Yeah, so you can probably guess roughly where this is going. It's going to be a question about marriage and money. I'm deducing.
Really giving it away.
Sorry,
We haven't even got the question yet.
Spoilers.
Next.
He says, one of my oldest and best friends is getting married next month. And I've been asked, he says, to be one of the 2 best men.
Gives the lie to that superlative, the fact of 2.
Doesn't it?
Be joint best.
Well, you had two best men.
I had 2 best men, yeah.
But
You
they were-
have to say that. But
Yeah.
really, it is...
It's 2 good men. You just can't decide your favourite.
Yeah. I'm thrilled about it all, continues Matrimony Troubles, as he's marrying a very nice woman who is obviously way out of his league, and we all get a free dinner and a disco out of it.
Free dinner, free disco. What's the money trouble? Matrimony trouble?
Well, he says, for wedding presents, they've asked for cash. See,
Yeah,
money
normal
troubles.
now, normal.
Yeah. Is it?
Yes.
To help with their honeymoon instead of items for the house, which they've already fully kitted out over their years living in sin.
Yeah, living in sin is really about going to IKEA and putting up bookshelves and stuff.
The most sinful place of all, isn't it? The homewares department of John Lewis.
Yeah, a lot of stabbings happen there.
Now, he says, to help them with their wedding prep, my wife, an illustrator, has designed their invitations, etc., free of charge, a service for which she'd normally charge several £100s. Also, and despite what I've come to regard as standard wedding custom, myself and the other best man, another of our close friends, have been expected to buy our best men's suits out of our own pockets. Not even asked to buy either, just expected to.
Yeah. I mean, was there the option to wear a suit you already owned? Because if so, I feel like you should have been given that option. But if he said you have to buy this kind of suit, this very specific model of suit,
Yeah.
then it becomes more clouded.
I've been best man twice, and both times the wedding party paid for my suit. One was an Indian wedding, so I really couldn't have been expected to have had that in my cupboard. And had I mocked it up myself, it would have been very racist. The other was a sort of more traditional black tie wedding, but even so, there were like sort of long tails and coats and things that you had to hire.
You can't be expected to own a morning suit.
Exactly. I can see why, Matrimony Troubles, this has
Vexed you.
built up a bit of resentment inside you, because I think that's what's happened, isn't it? It's not that either of these things is so individually objectionable that you would write to us, but clearly now there's another thing we're about to find out. What's the straw that's broken the camel's back? Now you look back and you think, oh, but there's all this money stuff.
But free meal and disco, weigh it up.
Well, this is it. Well, here's the question. I mean, you can guess what it's going to be, but he says, Helen, answer me this. Having already spent around £400 on suits and accommodation and the stag do, because that's the other thing you forget about the stag do.
400 quid though for all of those things.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, that is not that expensive.
It's average, it's true.
The suit you can wear again.
He's got more. This is a list. Having saved them a fortune on wedding stationery.
Yeah, but you didn't have to do that.
They kind of did, but they could have charged a minimal fee, couldn't they?
I don't think you should be adding that to the balance sheet, because I've done that loads for friends' weddings because I want to, and I'm flattered that they've asked me to do something, and I don't consider it something that I've lost money by doing. I wouldn't have done it if I couldn't afford the time on it.
Well, this is the thing. He says, and I'll lose a day's work to attend the event itself. So, would it be churlish of me to not give them any cash in their wedding card? think it
why
would.
give them the card? They've already had enough of your illustrations, right?
Just give them a bill. Yes, it would be churlish. That's exactly what it would be. I mean, I went to my friend Stephen Becker's wedding in Canada.
Yes, you did.
And we still took a wedding present. You can imagine what it cost to go to Canada for a wedding.
And you dislocated your shoulder. How much did that cost to get
exactly.
fixed?
In hospital bills,
Yes.
which I would have expected them to refund me.
I hope their love is worth your pain.
But we brought a present, and it was completely impractical. We should have actually brought money, thinking about it. But we went to Laura Ashley and got them a mantelpiece clock, which is a
You
reasonable.
put that in your suitcase.
Yeah, we put it in our suitcase,
God.
took it to Canada, and then they decided to live on the other side of Canada. So it would have cost them money to take it there, and then eventually they flew back to England. Presumably they flew it back to England again.
Have they got it? Have you checked?
I haven't checked. I haven't been to their new house.
They probably dropped it in a lake about 10 minutes after you gave
Actually, they've been slightly reticent about inviting us to their new house. I wonder if that's the reason.
Rude.
Yeah, they've got a baby, so that's probably the reason. But maybe it is that the Laura Ashley clock is makeshift potty.
I just think when things are breakable like that and you've moved continents, you've got two solid excuses for having disposed of the wedding present.
I think that's right.
ages
I'd
ago.
be cool with it, but the point is, at the time, I felt like we had to give them something on the day.
I know that people act like dicks when it's their weddings and you're expected to put up with it, and I hear your pain, matrimony troubles, but I just don't think the amount of money you'll be saving is worth it for the trouble that it will cause in your friendship going forward.
Exactly. How important is your friendship? If you're one of two best friends being considered for the best man role, presumably your friendship is important. Even a moderate amount of dickishness in the wedding year is acceptable. You know, that's part of the to and fro, the swings and balances of being a friend.
Yes.
Just think, what's this friend worth to me? Another £100, I can afford it. Just do it.
You can afford it emotionally. Just balance it out over your life. Or think if this were you and you'd acted in exactly the same way. Because you're married, so you know the kind of psychological state that can put a person in. And maybe you didn't act like a dick yourself, so you're not willing to accept the dickishness in others.
Yes, I think actually that's what's going on here. This often happens when people plan weddings. They think, well, the way we planned our wedding was perfect because everyone tells people, oh, your wedding was amazing. We loved your wedding. You had a great wedding. We had such a great time at your wedding.
People
your
do
wedding was
tell
the
me
best
that.
wedding ever.
Are you suggesting they're lying to me?
What I'm saying is that's what they say to everyone. Now, of course, it's the truth in your case because yours definitely was the best wedding ever.
Fuck you.
You're such a bastard.
But what I'm saying is,
you,
it is what everyone says to everyone. So he probably, our correspondent here, probably thinks, well, our wedding was the best ever. We didn't ask people to contribute free services like making our stationery and then ask them for money as well. So he's doing this as a sort of economic exercise, a balance sheet, but it doesn't work like that.
No, absolutely not. And also, do you think he would feel differently if instead of cash it was a wedding list? Do you think having converted his money into napkins or whatever, he wouldn't feel quite so aggrieved that the balance sheet was way out of whack?
No, I think he'd still feel aggrieved.
Can you consult with the other best man and see what he's doing and coordinate a policy?
If you gave a joint present as best men, that would be nicer because it would mean more. It's like an emotional thing.
And you could buy it in the sales
and
now,
it could be
thus
cheaper.
saving money.
Yeah, even though they've asked for money,
Yes.
from the best men, they'd probably accept a gift, wouldn't they, that they get to keep forever. It could just be a framed picture of them, which would cost less than the money you'd spend.
You got us framed pictures. Very nice of you.
So there you go.
And we didn't have a wedding
They
list.
were the best wedding present ever.
Absolutely.
That's what
Better
everyone
than all
always
that
tells
money
me.
that we spent on our honeymoon. Actually, here's a plan. Right. It makes you look a lot more generous than giving 5 times the amount of cash. Get them a really special book in which you've written a really heartwarming note in the front. And that might be 20 quid rather than 100 quid, which is probably the expected wedding present donation from a couple.
Yeah, but what's the definition of special book? I mean, how special can it be? For 20 quid.
Don't know.
Yeah. Jamie's
road
meals
map.
in minutes. What are you going to get?
Well, whatever's in the charity shop. I've got 1987 Jackie annual I got for 20p.
Perfect.
Got lots of advice about boys that you could use for marriage.
I think you'll find, even though I did charge you 20p for that, it was a great wedding present. Ladies and gentlemen, we now proudly present the intermission, brought to you by episode 69. Dudes, available to buy at AnswerMeThisStore.com.
This is Seb from Brighton. Answer me this. Why is it that my twin brother has a significantly bigger wanger than I do?
That's got us smart, hasn't it?
Do you think they were comparing erect penises? Because if they weren't, it could be that he had a semi on.
True.
Maybe you were just a bit shy. bet showing your twin brother your penis, you fucking weirdo.
But then, look, the thing is, to be fair, this is his twin brother. He's probably seen his wanger over numerous occasions, over numerous years of his life, and he's come to the
Through all
conclusion
that
at this
nude modelling
stage.
they did together.
Exactly. He now knows. He's saying it as a fact, isn't he? Significantly bigger wanger.
It could be perspective. I mean, maybe his twin brother's thinking exactly the same thing. He's looking.
Yeah, because looking down at your own wanger is going to make it look shorter, isn't it?
That's what they always say with the people that have got small knobs, is that whole thing of just look in a mirror. It looks totally different.
Measure it from the small of your back.
Measure it from your nose.
To ask us a question using your voice rather than your typing hands, give us a ring on the following number.
02081235877.
And to send one in via semaphore, maybe just film it on your phone, then email it in. Or upload it to YouTube, send us the link, or tweet it to us.
You could find it if it's a short semaphore.
Yeah, but I would suggest probably just emailing it or calling or phoning Skype, because we don't even take questions that people have submitted via Twitter.
No, that's true. It can't be asked, yeah.
It's just really phone, Skype and email.
Tell you what happens when we get a Twitter question.
Yeah.
We go, huh. That's it. That's the reaction
We'll
you get.
go, huh.
You think, oh, Helen and Ollie will have 3 minutes of banter with this.
Bants.
No, the quality bants is this. Huh.
Or it happens 2 weeks before we're next doing the podcast and we've forgotten.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We did tell you.
Yes, been very precise.
Twitter is just for your friendship. We enjoy your feedback.
As I say, semaphore, fine.
We'll be watching wherever you are.
Let's see who's called us this week.
Hello, it's Rebecca calling from Letchworth. Helen, Ollie and Martin the Soundman, please answer me this. Are chicken Kievs named after Kiev in Ukraine, or is it actually nothing to do with Kiev in Ukraine at all?
Well, she's kind of right on both points. They were named after Kiev in Ukraine, but
Why?
they are nothing to do with Kiev in Ukraine.
Okay, so why did people think that what is sometimes a relatively sophisticated dish, but is more often than not now sold as some processed frozen turkey with some garlic butter in the middle of it?
But
why did they think to name that after Ukraine?
I think Kiev has an undeservedly shit reputation, but it is a delicious breadcrummy food.
Let's park our feelings. I'm asking etymologically
Okay,
why.
well, I have to tell you a lovely story, Ollie.
Okay.
The tale of chicken Kiev.
Okay, but when I say let's park our feelings, I intend to tell you more about how I feel about Kiev.
Oh, I can tell.
There's a lot there.
The emotions are already kind of vibrating out of every pore.
But I'm just trying to keep, factually consistent here. Let's answer the question first.
So I'm going to tell you, listeners, what I think to be the most probable truth of the tale of Kiev.
Right.
Because it is a story with many variations.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like Rashomon.
It's like Rashomon, but made of chicken. In the 19th century, a lot of Russian chefs went to Paris to learn their trade because things that were French were very sophisticated and prized.
Yes.
And in France, they had a similar dish, but made of veal. The chefs took that back to Russia, and then it got made of chicken because chicken was a more valuable meat because it was so expensive and rare, relatively.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And then after the Second World War, there were a lot of Russian and Ukrainian immigrants to New York. So restaurants there that were trying to bring in people from those countries started serving chicken Kiev, and they started calling it chicken Kiev to remind them of the homeland. Kiev, why? I don't know. I wonder whether it's because it was an Eastern European place name that people
Americans could say.
and spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 letters.
Indeed. So I don't think it actually had a proper Kiev connection, but
Kiev
really,
connection.
It really caught on,
My
didn't
favourite
it?
thriller.
Yeah, absolutely. But the proper chicken Kiev didn't even have garlic in it; it just had butter.
What?
And the chicken was supposed to be flavoursome enough then in these times of precious chickens that you didn't need any garlic and certainly not cheese or mushrooms inside.
Okay, good enough for me. Let's now talk about our love of chicken Kiev.
10
It's great, isn't it?
10 out of
Love
10.
chicken
Yeah,
Kievs.
it is good.
Helen had a chopped up chicken Kiev and a sandwich with some bacon.
Oh my
today.
god, that was one of the best sandwiches of my entire life.
Slow down.
Yeah.
You took a chicken Kiev.
A couple of weeks ago, we had spare chicken Kievs from the dinner the night before.
It was cold in the fridge.
It was cold in the fridge. It was
You chopped it up and put it in a
It
sandwich.
was Saturday morning.
There's no excuse. Don't make it sound like
Well,
somehow
it was great.
circumstances make it
was
all right.
It would be worth
I was
cooking the
very
Kiev just
tired.
for the sandwich. No, chicken Kiev and bacon sandwich, fantastic.
I've never seen you look so happy.
Never
Blimey.
been so happy.
No,
Was there butter on the bread?
Yes.
Was there mayonnaise?
Just I like my bacon sandwiches pretty plain and my Kiev and bacon sandwiches similarly unadorned. You don't want to
almost
distract
sounded like
from the main events.
That almost sounded like homestyle southern wisdom until you said unadorned.
I like my chicken Kiev sandwiches like I like my men.
Unadorned.
I like my chicken Kiev sandwiches like I like my curtain poles, unadorned.
I'd actually even go cheaper and nastier with Kiev. I know
Well,
it's
this
wrong.
is from Tesco's. Pretty nasty.
No, cheaper and nastier. I like Bernard Matthews mini Kievs.
Mini.
I know that they are filth, but I really like them. It is the taste of childhood for me. Like, it's the one...
So are those turkey, those ones?
Yeah.
Are they tiny spherical ones, like
Yes.
a picnic egg?
Yes, and they
I
are...
hate picnic eggs.
To the developing taste buds of the young Ollie man, they were like smack.
Did
And
your
it just
parents
takes me straight back.
Did they just fire them into your mouth using a little catapult?
Like a tennis launcher.
Well, for a kid, they're quite a sophisticated taste because you've got...
2 stages.
Exactly. And also the heat from within. So they seem hot on the outside.
And then
they cool down a
liquid
bit.
hot.
But exactly, there's magma inside if you take the whole thing in your mouth at once. So it's a learning experience as well.
Yes.
And a very, very simple, cheesy, savoury taste inside. Delicious.
Cheesy?
Yeah.
What?
Creamy,
Unorthodox.
cheesy. I know, it's disgusting. But what I'm saying is, still now, if I want a little nostalgia trip, and literally I'm talking about twice a decade here,
Yeah.
I will go and stock up my freezer with mini Kievs and Arctic roll.
And it's the happiest day of your life.
It's kind of amazing. I still love that taste.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's great.
Yeah. Chicken Kiev was essentially, as far as I understand, the ready meal which revolutionised Marks and Spencer's
Yes.
in the UK.
I believe it was the first
as a
chilled
food provider.
ready
Yeah,
meal.
Yeah.
So a relatively sophisticated entrant to the ready
Yeah.
meal market rather than
Frozen.
frozen spaghetti or
Yeah.
boil in the bag stir fries.
Because our whole life, M&S and Waitrose, I guess, have been purveyors of quality, or seen as much better quality,
Yes.
ready meals to have at home from fresh ingredients. But
Yeah.
it's weird to think that only about 10 years before that,
Yeah.
they were only known for pants.
Really.
And then it was like, Chicken Kiev changed their fortunes.
Changes everyone's lives, doesn't it? Chicken
Yeah.
Kiev. Because
Yeah.
it's awesome.
It is awesome. We can actually all agree on that, which is nice after last week's olive debacle.
Like a lot of those foods that are now sniffed at because they're 70s. Like Black Forest Gatto is a delicious
It's
gatto.
amazing. You
Prawn
could-
cocktail,
done
very
properly.
good.
Well, yeah, but prawn cocktail is what
No,
gave me
there's
food
no yeah
No, but
bars.
it gave me food poisoning in Reno, so I'm still a little bit ho-hum about the
Okay,
prawn
well,
cocktail.
okay, fine. But as recently as 3 weeks ago, you thought delicious enough to order on holiday. That tells you all you need to know. It's a good dish.
Right before it made me vomit. I thought prawn cocktail is A-OK. Then I thought, God damn you, the 70s, this is your fault. Every podcast I listen to is sponsored by Squarespace. From WTF to Digested Read with John Crace. They all offer 10% off, which I think is ace. But whose code should I choose?
If you use the code ANSWER when you join for a year, you'll show Squarespace that you love us even more than our peers. And they'll continue to keep us in tea and biscuits and beer.
And drugs and fast cars.
Thank you very much to our generous benefactors, Squarespace, and I have been using Squarespace recently to set up my new site, theillusionist.org, for my podcast, as aforementioned.
And do you find, Helen, that they make it easy to make beautiful and easy-to-use websites?
They really do, Ollie, because you're making all the changes to the front of the website. There is no back end, people, and the feeling it gives me is like when you go to someone's house that's really beautifully minimalist, and you're like, where's all their shit?
Yeah.
Where's all their mess?
Yeah.
Where's their cupboard full of shit?
Yeah, you can be
There's
the kind
no
of...
cupboard of shit with Squarespace 7. It's all just clean front. Where's the shit?
You, too, can sign up and try Squarespace without even entering your credit card details or anything. Try
Yep.
it for free for a bit. And then if you choose to sign up for a year's worth of their service and get 10% off, remember to use the code ANSWER.
And you get a domain thrown in with all the hosting and designing. So that's also very good.
They win the internet.
Bravo, Squarespace. Well, here's a question from Nicola, who says, whilst frantically shopping for the finishing touches for Christmas presents, I came across Britney Spears' hair product.
The perfect stocking filler.
And I got to wondering about the timeline of her promotional items. Ollie, answer me this. Did Britney Spears' hair products go into circulation before or after her hair shaving incident?
Yeah, it is an interesting product collusion, isn't it? When you think that is one of the things she's most famous for in tabloid
It was
circles.
a while ago, though, wasn't it? 2007?
Yeah, it was a while ago. I mean, Divine Brown was a while ago, but you say Hugh Grant and you do think of it in one of your top 3 things.
Yeah, true.
Same with Britney.
My top 3 things.
Well,
all time.
I would say Hugh Grant, you think 4 Weddings, Leveson, Divine Brown.
I think
Is that not fair?
I think Divine Brown, 4 Weddings, throwing beans at a paparazzo.
Britney, I think schoolgirl outfit,
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake shaving the hair off. That's what I think.
Well, her huge breakdown was quite a big thing.
It was, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
fair comment. And that is probably why the hair care range is exclusive to Lidl.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And only in Britain,
It's across all of Europe, so wherever Lidl has a supermarket.
but not in America.
But not in America. December the 18th, they hit the shelves. So it was literally the very time Nicola sent us this email. She was essentially one of the first people in the world to see the
Wow.
Britney Spears hair range.
What
and
a
there she was
privilege.
sending us a question as if, oh, this must be some outdated thing from 7 years ago. No. It's only just hit the shelves.
I suppose it makes sense because Britney, whether you like it or not, is a very affluent perfumier.
Good thing is, it's quite cheap.
I'm not surprised. It's a Lidl, firstly.
Yes, indeed. The hair brushes, which come as part of the set, you can 5 of them you can collect, different colours.
Yeah, why would you need 5 hairbrushes?
Well, why do you need a Britney Spears branded hairbrush at all?
Define need.
To
do voodoo with, of course.
$1.99 each. I mean, that is bargainous for quite a still... I wouldn't say top-level star, but certainly someone people have still heard of. She's on the B-list, isn't she?
But you have to wonder, don't you, how much these people know about the products with their names on. Do One Direction even know that they are on liquid toothpaste at Superdrug?
Oh, they really?
They are. They really are.
Liquid toothpaste?
Yes.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because you'd think teenage girls would want some Harry Styles cream in their mouth.
I rather assumed that was the message.
But liquid?
Yep.
I mean, that's not the right consistency.
Well, it is when it's fresh.
Yeah, okay.
Here's a question from Mark, who says, Ollie, answer me this. Any idea why dusters are always yellow with red stitching?
No. I mean, I've looked into it, and there are 3 competing theses. I mean, I'll tell you what they all are. Yeah.
God, that's generous.
But I can't honestly tell you which it is.
Is it because Ronald McDonald had a hand in all of them?
Look, okay, here's the thing. Yellow dusters with red stitching, yes, they are the most common to buy.
Yes.
But actually, you can buy others. You can buy pink, you can buy blue.
Yes,
There are. I've seen them. They exist.
Kind of faded beige.
2 reasons why I think those don't sell now. 1, you can't see the dust so well on them. 2, and I return, I'm afraid, to my answer on the red cups at American pool parties.
Yes.
People have grown up knowing yellow dusters, thinking dusters are yellow when they go to the supermarket. They don't want to be challenged on that. They want the product they know.
You can get other coloured rubber gloves, but you probably got yellow ones.
Exactly, yeah. So really, in truth, you know, the technology exists to make other colours, but now people ask for yellow dusters. That really is the answer. But why were they yellow in the first place?
Yes.
3 competing theories.
Okay.
Firstly, some say when they were originally introduced in the 1850s,
Yes.
the psychological signal that was being sent by the yellow was to remind people of spring cleaning. Here comes sunshine, clean your house.
Reminds you of wiping your windows with a freshly hatched hen.
Yeah, no, I think that's bullshit. But apparently yellow cloth, which would have come from China in the 1850s, would have been the cheaper colour to get.
Oh, so it's an economic thing.
It's economic, but they would have said, look, remind yourself of spring.
It was like we did yellow rubber ducks some years ago, and I think it was just
Cheaper.
because
Yeah.
the rubber was in that colour already.
Yeah. I'm not so sure about that theory anyway. Theory number 2, dusters were once recycled butter muslin.
Okay, so it was stained yellow.
It absorbed the colour used in butter when it was wrapped.
Yes,
Then
also makes sense.
The practical housewife would reuse it as a duster.
So now it's a heritage nod.
Exactly.
Ah.
And actually, I'm more convinced by that one.
Yes, that's good.
Theory number 3, similarly, a nod to heritage. It's an echo of yellow chamois leather, which is a kind of natural colour of chamois leather that people use to polish other things around their house.
I'd say all 3 of those explanations seem reasonably plausible.
Well, that's why I gave them, Helen. Who am I to judge? But I'm just saying my personal favourite is the chamois leather one.
But what of the red stitching? Is that because that just looks best against a very bright yellow? Most colours don't go well with that.
Black would look okay.
Black would look great.
Or like a dark blue.
But actually, I think whichever theory you choose, what's interesting is that it doesn't really come from necessity. It comes from a nod to heritage cleaning.
Yeah.
So that, you know, whichever it is, what we're basically saying is when mass production and industrialisation arrived towards the end of the Victorian era,
You'd love to remember that.
You want to remember the heritage of what would have been previously for hundreds of years, your mum showing you how to clean a thing.
Yeah.
So whichever excuse you choose, whichever theory you go for, they're all kind of reminders of a kind of heritage of cleaning, which is quite nice in a way.
In a way.
In a way.
As nice as cleaning can be. Maybe it's just that you're scrubbing dirt. Maybe you want to look at something brightly coloured for a change.
It does make it a bit cheerier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, I'd certainly recommend these dusters. Buy fresh ones for this, but when you've got a cold, very gentle on the nose, much more than tissues or hankies, yes.
You blow your nose into dusters?
Yeah, clean ones, not dusty ones.
Sick indication of how the Western world is wasteful, Helen, do you need? That somebody blows their nose into a duster.
Yeah, and then you put them through the wash, and then you can blow your nose in them all over again.
Good tip. I use Pledge wipes. That wouldn't work to wipe your nose on.
No, but it's certainly good for making your face a shining mahogany.
I use it for polishing my wood. You get me?
Thanks for going there.
Thanks.
Thanks for lifting this section about cleaning into another place.
When
when your other sources are no help or meet with disapproval? Where can you go when your mum doesn't know and you can't be asked to Google? Answer me this, podcast at googlemail.com. 0208 123 5877. 0208 123 5877. 0208 123 5877.
The musical stylings of listener Chris there. Beautiful work, Chris. Thank you very much.
Andy has emailed us with this. He says, I recently stumbled across a work colleague on Tinder.
Awkward.
That is what a stalker would say, isn't it? Just stumbled across you. I have a strict rule, he continues, about not dating people from work. Plus, she's too short for me.
Oh, come on.
So I swiped left.
You really can't help your height. Out of almost everything from your physical appearance, that's the thing you can least help.
Correct. But Helen, answer me this. Seeing as she'll have seen me on Tinder too, and may have swiped right... Confident.
May not have, though.
Should I mention it to her in some casual way to explain that I swiped left just because I don't want to date workmates? She does seem a bit weird around me, he continues, and I'd like to clear the air. And she has a boyfriend.
Whoa.
So is it okay to spread this gossip around the office?
I think the classy thing to do, Andy, would be to say to her, I saw you on Tinder. I swiped left because I don't date colleagues, but also because you have a boyfriend. So
that's not the classy thing to do. That's totally twisting the knife in.
I
didn't consider you good enough to swipe right. And by the way, I know you're playing around.
Yeah.
You don't say that.
Well, I think Andy would, because he's like, she's too short. Should I tell the whole office as well that she's on there?
I think this is quite interesting because apparently Tinder is full of married men who are looking for something on the side.
And attached women.
Well, evidently. You don't hear so often about that.
Because women are more discreet.
It takes two to fuck. And apparently there are married women on there as well.
The famous phrase goes.
Or more.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Point is, isn't it interesting that there are probably just as many married or otherwise engaged women looking for fun as there are men? Fun. That is the most...
Fun.
So open to misinterpretation, isn't it, of all the euphemisms? Because one person's fun is going to Peyton and Byrne for a cake. And another
That is fun.
It is fun. It's my fun, it's your fun.
Yeah.
Another kind of fun is someone trading a picture of their bumhole. How do you know?
How do you know?
And they need to be more precise. It's like putting us in the comedy category.
Imagine if you went to Peyton and Byrne and showed them your bumhole.
Who's to say they don't have a loyalty card?
So what do you think happens on Tinder that people swap pictures of their bums?
Well, gaydar. I've seen gaydar activities are the same. Why should Tinder be much less?
I've never joined one of these things, but my understanding from talking to women about this is that they put, I'm up for a bit of fun, which is one of the options, right? And they do get cock shots back.
Yeah.
Or at least, man in a bathroom mirror bulging Calvin Klein's giving a thumbs up. And that's, to a lot of women, not fun.
Yeah.
They literally mean I want someone to go and watch The Hobbit with.
We've all jacked off to The Hobbit, though.
Because it's so boring. We needed something to get us through.
There's something... It's the dwarves.
It's Christopher Lee for me.
Still got it, hasn't he?
I don't know. I don't think I like the tone of this Andy's question very much. For a start, he seems really full of himself. Like, I doubt she really gives a shit. And B, like, if she is in a relationship, that is potentially quite harmful.
Well, yes.
Like, the other thing he would ask, should I tell everyone in the office? Well, no, you shouldn't,
you
bastard.
But you should just tell everyone on a podcast. But the thing that she obviously is anxious about, I think, reading between the lines, is that he's seen that she's playing around if she's in a long-term relationship. She's not bothered that you swipe left.
Well, she might be, because everyone likes to be found attractive, don't they? Do you think he should broach this with her at all, then? Or
he should mind his own fucking business, I think.
Okay.
Do you not think he's being really... that's kind of intrusive? Like, is it a close work colleague? I don't know. I would just forget about it.
I suppose it's an exciting thing to find out, though, about someone you work with. It is juicy.
I don't think there's anything in this that suggests he should initiate the interaction. If she comes to him and says, I saw you on Tinder, do you mind just keeping that quiet because, a bit awkward?
Yeah.
Fine, but... there's no reason you should initiate a conversation about this.
Is it also possible that she will have a Tinder profile lurking around from when she was single and just hasn't really done anything with it since she's been with her boyfriend? Maybe she and her boyfriend have an open relationship.
Or maybe they're having difficulties. None of this is any of his business.
Also, I think there are quite a lot of people who are on things like Tinder not because they're looking for sex, but they're just looking for people to find them attractive, just to remind them that they've still got it, even though they're in a relationship. They're not on the market. They've still got it.
Fun for them, isn't it?
Yeah, lucky them.
Problem with a word.
Yeah, so it's not so much swiping as stroking their ego.
Exactly. Maybe the thing to do is go up to her and say, "Look, we both know that I saw that you're looking for fun. I'm on the way to the loo now anyway. If you want a photo of my cock, I can email it to you, since we're on the internal system.
That is...
There's no point of using the mobile app.
Well, listeners, if you want to send us something, preferably not cockshots, you can use our apps, but you can also email us, or you can call us, or you can Skype us, and we keep our contact details on our website.
AnswerMeThisPodcast.com, where you can also find links to our Twitter and our Facebook
where
pages.
We do not accept questions, just interesting correspondence.
Indeed.
Yes.
And you can find the links to the Answer Me This store, where you can buy our first 170 episodes our albums and our apps.
And you can see posts that we've put up in between episodes, because sometimes we answer your questions and address your feedback there.
Yes, and remember between episodes that you can now find not just my spin-off podcast, but Helen's as well, The Allusionist.
Whoosh. Magical name, isn't it?
It is beautiful. And mine, which is The Media Podcast.
What about my podcast? Brain Train, Global Lab, Sound of the Ladies. I've got a podcast coming out of my arse.
Yeah, literally, your podcast where you're just guffing into a mic. That comes out every day.
I think you basically file those under optional.
And it just remains for us to say thank you to Squarespace.com for sponsoring this episode, and thanks to you for listening to it. Please come back for more in a fortnight. Bye!
Bye.